Yo, what is going on, Descendants? Got another build guide for you. This one is for Nazeistra's Devotion. I think hand cannons are so cool. They usually always hit hard. They usually always sound really cool. And then just something about hitting a nice, precise headshot, just watching that thing go ding. So without further ado, here's some gameplay and then we'll jump into the build. As far as the rolls on my Nazeistra, we have bonus firearm attack versus Colossus, firearm attack, firearm critical hit damage, and firearm critical hit rate. I'm personally comfortable with these rolls, but if you're someone who's not going to use this in a Colossi fight, the other two I would look out for would be like weak point damage or an element of some kind. So when looking at the ability, on hitting an enemy's weak point, inflicts the unique ability Devotion mark on the target enemy. On hitting an ally, that ally's shield is restored at the cost of your MP. If your current MP is less than the MP cost, the effect is not triggered. So it's not a super complicated ability, right? There's only really two parts to it. The first one's going to be Devotion's mark, and when you hit a weak point, you're going to cause a defense down or a defense reduction of 30%, and that'll last for 3 seconds. And then the second part is on hitting an ally, you're going to shield recover by 30%, and the MP cost is 65. I personally haven't ever used Nazeistras to restore shields, but I definitely do use it for the defense down debuff. I would maybe use the second part of the ability if I was like Yujin or something, where like focus is to actually like heal my teammates and restore their shields. So taking a look at the mods, we have action, reaction, rifling reinforcement, weak point sight, hit rate insight, insight focus, better insight, better concentration, concentration priority, special sight, and have aiming. For the special mod, I think this is going to be the best option for Nazeistras. If you're just an absolute god, you never miss any shots, then real life fighter is also a really good option. For Colossi, this is probably actually a better option than special fight because your weak points are like much bigger on a Colossi, right? Whereas with a commander, for example, or a mob that's moving around a lot, the weak point is much smaller, so it's much harder to hit, which means that if you have real life fighter and you miss one shot, that loses 2 stacks. You miss another shot, then that's 2 more stacks, right? You only have 8 shots in this, so missing just one weak point is actually like a really big downer. And things happen, as you saw earlier in the boss fight. If you noticed, there was a time where the boss went to put up his gun for whatever reason. I don't know if he was reloading or whatever happened, but he put it in front of his face. When I went to shoot, I hit him. If I would have had real life fighter, I missed my weak point because he did that, which means I would have dropped a stack. Let's say he does one of those weird like jump to the side dodges and you shoot, well then there's another stack, right? You only have 8 shots, so it's like a pretty big hit to your damage when you do miss because you're losing 2 stacks. Again, on a Colossi, not going to be that hard to hit the big weak point, but that's why I decided to go with special sight, is because you're just going to have a consistent 30% extra weak point damage as long as you're aiming. But if you're like very confident you're not going to miss a shot and nothing is going to interrupt your shot, then using real life fighter would probably be the better option. But for consistency, I think that this is going to be the better option, at least for my personal preference. And the good thing is they're the same symbol, right? So if you decide that you don't like special sight as much, or you think that real life fighter isn't working out, you can just swap these two out without any issues. So touching on the stats really quick, we're not going to get crazy with it, but the base stat on this for firearm critical hit rate, the base stat is actually 45%. I have 11% added through a weapon option, but it is like a really high crit rate on this gun. And the last stat I want to touch on is effective range. It is actually kind of a short distance, 25 meters. Anything further than 25 meters, you're going to start losing damage. So to get as much damage as possible, you actually kind of want to be fairly close with. Overall, I think this is a really good weapon. I think it's a fantastic fantastic option for a secondary and impact round weapon that you can pull out when you need to maybe reload, you just need to finish some ads or something, or on a commander. I'm not gonna say use it as your primary DPS against a Colossi, breaking like weak points, using it against a commander or other elite enemies. This thing is gonna perform fantastically. That's gonna do it for this build guide. Till the next one. Later.